And we are live.
You're listening to the OMG Podcast. Here's your host, Paul Finkelstein.
Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Finkelstein with OMGTalkshow.com or OMGTalk.com, the small business owner podcast. A lot of people have seen me on alignable.com. If you haven't been to that network, I highly encourage you to check it out. I don't get paid for that. Maybe one day after I do a whole bunch more of these, maybe I'll have to make a deal. But for now, I just enjoy meeting all kinds of small business owners that don't do what I do because my compliance department would have a field day and wouldn't really allow me to do that. But fortunately, I meet all kinds of people in South Florida area, in Florida, which I think our guest is from the Florida area. So that's great when that happens. Of course, a lot of people on Alignable are all over the country and the world for that matter. So today, our special guest is our Dr. Randi Shannon. How are you today, Dr. Randi Shannon?
I'm doing great. And thank you so much for having me. And I am in Miami, Florida. It's like paradise of America. I promise I'm in one of the best cities. I know some people have like a stigma about like South Beach and things like that, but a lot of Miami is really amazing people and people that really love health, as a matter of fact. So thank you for having me.
You're not just in Miami, Florida today. You'll be on Twitter, on YouTube, and LinkedIn right now, live stream. You can see the red symbol there for live just above us. So let's get going and find out all about Dr. Randi Shannon, naturopathic. I can't. It's hard for me to say that word for some reason.
It doesn't roll off the tongue so easy for some.
I might need a doctor. So let's see what our first question is that we've prepared for you. So how did you get started as a naturopathic doctor?
Yeah. It's interesting. I've been in health and nutrition my entire life. And, I have had 4 sons. My oldest is now about to be 34 and my youngest is 23. So each time that I got pregnant, I completely went cold turkey on anything I might have been doing that I thought would be harmful. So it was just always, at the top of my mind to be healthy and to make sure my kids were healthy. And it progressed and I just took on a greater interest as time went on, and I put myself back in school, went through naturopathic school, became a naturopathic doctor after 3 years, and just took it a whole nother route, actually, which we'll talk about today. I'm very specialized in what I do as a naturopathic doctor. I am an expert reader of the face, the fingernails, and the tongue. And everybody's like, what is that? Well, and it is unheard of mostly. What I do in this country is probably the rarest type of doctor that there is that's actually really precise and super targeted. So when I look at the face, the fingernails, and the tongue, we are like the rings of a tree in a way. It's a good way to describe it. When you cut a tree in half, you can see on the rings what all that tree was exposed to, fire or pestilence or flood. Well, our faces, our fingernails, and our tongue say the same thing. And other marks of concern, if you will, on the body. If something just appears that wasn't there, that you weren't born with it, then we have to take a look.
Now, I'm glad you took a breath there or a pause because I was curious. I've actually interviewed maybe 200-300 people from Alignable, and sometimes they would give me 10 questions. I have 10 questions of my own, and I'd ask one question, and then they would go for like an hour and no break, and they would answer every single question. So that leads me to the second question, and maybe if you touched upon anything there, or maybe there's a certain why answer here, that why did you choose a specific analysis of face, tongue, and nails to begin with?
And that is a great question because everyone asks that everywhere I go, like, why did you choose that? How did you come up with that? Well, when I went through school, there's tons of modalities, tons of different directions a naturopathic doctor can go. Maybe they're into oils, maybe they're into, blood work or, all kinds of scanning equipment. But I found that I was really, really good at analyzing what was going on. And it was a small snippet of naturopathic school where we looked at the tongue. There was a little bit in the face, but not a ton. And when I went through my clinicals and I had to take on real people, I found it even more fascinating because just the possibilities are amazing of what each organ will show. And I just found it so fascinating. And so then I was talking about it with somebody, and they said, well, I have a doctor who does some of what you're talking about. Maybe he would be interested in mentoring you. And in fact, he was. He's now since retired, but I went and worked with him for quite some time. And we were very busy, 6 to 8 different beds of people coming in all day long. So I would go in at 8 in the morning and be done at 6 at night. And it felt like 5 minutes. It just flew by. And I was doing an analysis on every single one of those people, along with assisting with acupuncture. I'm not an acupuncturist. So there was, I couldn't put the needles in, but I did a lot else. So I just found it fascinating. And so I decided this was where I could go and not need multi-million-dollar equipment that medical doctors use. And it really tells me real time what's going on in the body. It's amazing.
Well, I'm sure we could do whole nother episode and learn even more about just that as a whole nother topic. Tell me about the best and the worst days of your job. It reminds me of a circulating, I don't even know if it was a chain letter type thing that went around the internet about some sister that described her brother about his worst day on the job. And this guy had a job where he had to work in some kind of submarine. I don't know if you ever heard that story, down in the bottom of the ocean. And he was breathing through a tube that was many, many feet long that went back to the submarine of some kind. And then something happened and he felt something in his wetsuit. And it turned out a jellyfish squirmed its way through this hose all the way down. And he didn't even know it to the last minute. And he's down there relaxing, loves his job. And next thing you know, he's itching like crazy. But the story goes on and on and on. And I could derail this entire interview even further. But tell us about your best and worst of your day in the day.
Okay, so I get a lot of great days, and I'll actually explain that. So let's give you a worst day. I don't usually get too emotional in my field with what I do because, I'm not seeing somebody who's in an emergency room bleeding out on the table and, losing them that way. However, I deal with all the chronics. So when somebody comes to me, especially when they say the MDs have given up, they've done everything that they could, we need you. When really a naturopath should be the first place that somebody goes for anything other than an emergency. Okay, emergencies, that's life-saving. MDs have their place for that for sure. But anything chronic, that's a naturopath. That was original medicine, was natural. God gave us everything here on this planet, and it's there for us to use. So worst day, I would say, was a story about she was about a 15-year-old girl who had been diagnosed with ovarian cancer, had been chemoed a couple of times already. By the time they came to me when they said the doctors have given up. There's nothing more they can do. So I was pretty confident that we could turn this around. A lot of the cancers are turned around. And in fact, I've had people come to me with being told 3 weeks left to live, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And I actually interviewed the mom of the surviving son that we took care of. It's on my YouTube. So people can hear that straight from the mother's mouth. But this girl had never experienced really life. She had 15 years of life, had been chemoed a couple of times, radiated multiple times. They gave up on her. So she was referred to me, and I put together an entire protocol for her. And we had a powwow with the whole family. It was amazing. Everybody was gung-ho. We were going to go for it. And they said, the oncologist wants to have one more conversation with us. And I said, okay, but they're going to try and talk you out of this. And they said, no, they said there's nothing else that they can do. Excuse me. So we're going to have that conversation, but we know it's not going to go anywhere. Well, of course, the oncologist talked them right back into doing another round of chemotherapy. and also talked them out of doing anything natural and healthy. And his words exactly were, that will conflict with what I'm trying to do. Okay, I was upset, but let them go, wish them the best. And they decided not to do anything. And about 8 months later, I got a phone call about 5 o'clock in the morning saying that she had passed away. And I said, well, the doctor was right, because what I would have done with her would have conflicted with their death sentence. So that one did break me down. I'm giving it to you kind of, in a way, a little bit cold so that I don't break down. But that one was brutal on me, because she made it to 16, but she didn't get to live the life that we get to live. You have love, you have children, you have, whatever your life is. If you make it into the 50s, 60s, or 100, 125, we got to live life. This little girl never got to live it. So that was one of the bad days, because I was actually emotionally involved in her case. Good days, I have them every single day, because I have so many clients, thousands, like over 4,000 in the last year alone, that have come to me for help. And every day I'm getting a new testimony. So my career is incredibly rewarding, because somebody with scleroderma, for example, which is a tightening of the skin. This particular client, the skin turned completely black. The toenails were super crusty. Even the tongue was black. The face was black. And this was a white person, but all of the flesh was basically dying. He'd been in a wheelchair. For 8 years, he had been diagnosed with scleroderma. And they always tell everybody it's progressive and it cannot be reversed. That's not true. And in 3 months, he was already up and out of the wheelchair and walking. My Instagram actually has a picture of his legs. You can see them, his legs and feet. It's Instagram.com/the body can, CAN, because the body can heal itself. So all my tags are at the body can. And you can go there and see his legs. So I've got the pictures, no face or anything. And I have other testimonials that are listed there. I put all kinds of stuff up there. So every day of my life is like amazing, because I get to do the most amazing thing, which is help people with their health and get it turned around. There's nothing like a person who comes to you who's suffered so badly and then is able to walk away from that.
You definitely crossed a very interesting path when you came to me to do this interview. I guess I have to mention just a small snippet. I feel compelled to say something, because my mom had ovarian cancer, and just before the pandemic, she went through all the things that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. And didn't seem like there was too much hope. And she went through all the chemotherapy, and we feel like that pretty much was the end. Mm-hmm. That being said, though, she was my mentor in life. She was older than 16. She was my mom. She mm-hmm. became a certified financial planner and an MBA and a something else that I'm leaving out. A CPA was a big part of her practice as well. And she lived not the fullest life. And she passed in July 31 of 2019 from ovarian cancer.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah.
So just to hear what you're saying, it just makes it very intriguing for an amazing resource to give people a lot more hope than just traditional medicine. And that leads me actually to the next question, which is ahead of it. What do you think is the biggest challenge in healthcare right now?
That it's so upside down. When you go into the hospitals, vending machines full of candy and sugar and things that are horrible for the body. And nobody in the mainstream is talking about, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids, all of these things. And then the insurances really, for the most part, only cover if you're going to take a prescription drug or have a surgery. They don't cover prevention. They don't cover trying to do something healthy while you're going through a problem. They don't cover any of that. So naturopathic doctors, we aren't out here billing insurance companies, living in humongous homes and driving super fancy cars. And probably most of us really don't care about that because we don't get caught up in that. We're not trying to compete or show out against the next guy. That's not what it's about for us. It's about truly having a heart to actually help bring healing to the people. And if you think about it, my son was telling me this yesterday. He said, Mom, when you're in school, whether it was elementary or junior high, and people say, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor. Was there anything really in there because it was for the healing? Or was it because that's like a great career and I'll make a lot of money, da, 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 da? Was there really even a cell in that conversation of the body saying, I want to help heal people? So it's a different mindset. I think that's a huge challenge for people because a naturopath, they got to pay cash out of pocket. Whereas a medical doctor, sometimes they'll go get on all the drugs, medication, and do all the surgery because insurance is covering it, instead of doing the right thing, which is actually give their body what it truly wants. It doesn't want drugs. That's foreign to the body. So it's going to fight that too.
I think my grandmother beat it into me when I was really, really young to take vitamins. She would say it from as young as I can remember, like maybe 5 or something like that. I think today, even the last 3 years, my wife and I have 2 bowls before we go to bed. And maybe you're going to tell us that we do it the wrong way. Sometimes we would take them at the end of the day and not with meals and things like that. Or maybe some people it's just convenient, but at least we're doing something. And that I feel like we're taking like 25 different pills that are not medicine pills, but supplements between the zincs and the C's and the D's and the B's and the etc.
Well, for the audience,
of course,
what you're saying is so important. You should take it with food for assimilation, just so your belly doesn't get upset, and because there are certain things that do nauseate a person. So it seems like you must be doing fine if you're taking it to bed on an empty stomach, I'm guessing. So
we didn't have dinner like just recently before that, but probably not too far away. We're trying also not to have meals too late because I feel like maybe we learned late in life that maybe we shouldn't be having that late night dinner at 9 o'clock at night downtown or something like that, and just to eat at literally, like, why do seniors have early bird at 5 or 6? Maybe they know something that we should know, and to let our stomachs not be feeding past a certain hour.
Yeah, the whole point of sleeping is so that everything really can rest and restore. So if the digestive system is having to work when it's supposed to be resting, and it's called breakfast for a reason. A lot of people have heard that. It's break the fast, meaning you should have not been eating for a little while and let this whole area just sleep for a little bit and just relax and not have a job to do. But that's
Food
okay.
For thought. Food for thought, no pun intended.
Exactly.
All right, here's another $1 million question for you. How often do clients surprise you, and how frequently do you come across something you're unfamiliar with?
Okay, so in the entire last year, I've had 2 interesting cases. So one, and they're both kind of sad. They're not like happy cases. One is a woman. I don't know if you've ever heard of the blue guy. He's passed away now, but this is a woman who was diagnosed with scleroderma, and she came to me recently, actually, and she took colloidal silver 2 quarts per day, every day for 30 days. So of course her skin turned gray. So that's an interesting case. This is going to be an interesting walkthrough with her to try and undo that damage. So that's what we're going to work on, see if we can undo that. And then
why did she do that though?
Somebody told her, she found something out on the internet, and the internet is good, but it's also very slanted and things are written. There's a lot of lie on the internet as well. So somebody steered her in the wrong direction. I love colloidal silver. I love it. It's one of my favorite things, but not 2 quarts a day every day for 30 days. No, not even close to that. And it was a homemade version. So who knows, what that actual measurement of silver was that was in there. Could have been like super crazy high. So the other one, which was a unique case to me, there was these little boys. I don't want to give too many details because we're still in the throes of this, and they're not doing well. They just came to me, and they were all 3 born with 2 X chromosomes. So a boy is an XY and a girl is an XX, and we get 46 chromosomes. These boys were born with 47. So in essence, that makes them girls because they have that extra X. But everything about them is boy. So they have a tremendous amount of health issues. Livers are failing in all 3 of them, etc. So hoping that the mom gets started on a turnaround, because one of them has been told he won't make it to the end of the year. And they just came to me. So in an entire year, I had 2 super unique cases come just in the last, week to 10 days. So we'll see how they go. Stay tuned.
Wow. I can imagine you should be on, if not already, on all these major networks or your own podcast. And I'm lucky enough to have you here and get a chance to listen to you here on a Friday morning.
I've actually talked about television many times. The thing is, prior to the lockdown that we had, I really didn't want to be out on camera at all. I liked my anonymity. I liked my privacy. And, I would travel around the country and do lectures, but I wasn't on screen like this. I really just never wanted to do that. And then what's happened has forced me out in the front, because I'm not traveling around like I used to be doing the lectures. I'm pretty sure the whole world went back, to work and got out there, but I'm just not traveling. So now I'm just doing this. And I love this actually now. I just had to come out of that mindset.
It certainly takes practice to do it, for sure. I had to go through Toastmasters just for public speaking in person. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it really gave me the benefit of being comfortable on a YouTube video. How many times do you try to videotape yourself on your phone and you go, I don't sound like that. I don't look like that. How do I get my background right? How do I get my sound right? And how do I make sure I'm going to say something that makes me look good?
We don't have to be perfect. We're people. We don't have to be perfect. That's for sure.
Right.
I learned that. So
here's another $1 million question. Can you talk about the top 3 causes of death in America? That sounds pretty.
Yeah. Well, people going through it are not having a good time. Number 1 is heart disease or heart-related issues. Okay. And that's getting worse with, things that have gone on in the last couple of years. Number 2 is cancer. And number 3 is the medical doctors mess something up. And people will think, well, what could that be? Well, it could be prescription overdose, could be prescriptions that don't like each other and conflict, could be they left the scissors in, it's anything, but it's a lot of times it's infections or bad decisions. Or they'll do a colonoscopy. Everybody thinks that's like something that they should do because, I hit a certain age and my doctor said, well, now it's my time to do that. Well, it's just because insurance is picking it up now as a routine thing at a certain age. And so they recommend it. So it keeps that, money thing going, that money wheel going. But what people don't understand is colonoscopies, a lot of people die just from that. And that's just one procedure by medical doctors, and it's elective. So you could go in, get it, and they tear you. And it might be just a tiny little tear, but it might be enough to cause you to bleed out, have infection, all kinds of things can go wrong. And people die from that all the time. So medical doctors messing things up. Heart disease, preventable if they do the right things and stop all the wrong things. Cancers, I also believe are preventable. So
I feel like now I need to get a T-shirt that says I had a colonoscopy and I survived it, and I got the
T-shirt. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't. My own uncle went in for one and didn't know that he had a tear. And as he was driving home, he was bleeding out, and he ended up having a stroke. So he's never been the same. He's never been the same. He managed to live, but
Definitely more food for thought here. More food for thought at, no pun intended, omgtalk.com for sure. Let's see. Did you cover all three? Was there a three that you were supposed to mention, or just
yep,
two?
cancer or heart disease, cancer, and the medical doctors. Yeah.
Okay. Here's $1 million question. Is diabetes and high blood pressure? I just lost the question. I scrolled too fast. But I bet you probably know what I'm going to say, though. Is it reversible? I'm pretty sure. Is it really reversible, diabetes and high blood pressure?
Yeah. I meet people every single day that have been on meds for 30, 40, 50 years for these things. And on average, 3 to 5 months, it's reversed on my protocols. So why be on drugs your whole life? Silly.
And not so difficult that the average person can't get that discipline. People procrastinate all the time, or they say it's too hard. They've gone their whole life, and they just need 3 to 5 months of a really good, solid coach / doctor with some knowledge to do that.
Yep. And people have gotten into that lazy mode too, of saying, okay, well, I can't do this or I can do that. Really? It's your life, your health. And I don't know if you've ever heard this saying. You spend all your health chasing wealth, and then you spend all your health or all your wealth chasing your health. So how do you want to do it? How do you want to play the game? Do you want to take care of yourself all the way through? Or do you want to wait until you got money and then, or even don't have money? A lot of people don't have it, and then they're chasing their health, and then they can't afford what they really needed to do. So we have gotten into a lazy welfare mode when it comes to our own personal health. Oh, I don't have the discipline to do it. Well, find it. Find it. It's your life. It's your health. If you don't do the right things right now, statistics are in that last 3 years of your life, you will suffer tremendously from all the things you were letting go. So, I don't want to be on 25 prescriptions. So why not prevent it? I'm 54 on no prescriptions, no broken bones. I don't color my hair because I'm getting the right nutrients. When you get the right nutrients, you don't have to color your hair. Your body actually will create what's needed for your hair to stay its same hair color. So
now we'll save another debate for another time, but being that you just admitted on screen, the person on my left and me right now, we are the same exact age. So I guess you would be like the female form of me in age-wise, but of course, all the different variables. So I just admitted it too. That's what I am. I'm curious though, do you do any, if this is a bad word to say, running / walking? Have you ever done any running before? And if you didn't, do you ever have people that run, and would you encourage them not to, or if they have a passion to it, moderation, or do you have anything against running? I'm just curious.
Nothing against it. I actually did the Miami Marathon. Interesting question. In 2015, it was brutal on me. I decided to do it about 3.5 months in advance of it, so I didn't have a ton of time to prepare. And the most I had run prior to doing that marathon was 15, 16 miles. So marathon's quite a bit more. When it got to the halfway mark and 99% of the people took the turn and cut out at the half marathon, it was a very lonely road going the rest of it. And once I was finished, I cried the whole way home because I was so in pain and agony. And, it took a really nice warm bath with baking soda because, your body is like in a super acidic moment at that time. So everything is hurting and aching. So I did a soak, and then I went to bed, and I did not see daylight until the next day. And I was totally fine because I had been taking my nutrients the whole entire time. So, and I had taken some when I got back from that, and I took them all the way through it. Actually, I ran out towards the last, 5 miles or so, but so I was nutrifying my body through the whole entire thing. Do I recommend running? It's very hard on the knees, the joints. However, if you are nutrifying, that cartilage won't get broke down. A lot of people think, and there's a whole community of doctors that make a fortune replacing knees and hips and shoulders. Uh, but cartilage will actually regrow on its own. And I'm not talking go get stem cell injections. I'm talking about what you take internally and also what you knock out internally. Cartilage, it was basically an informal study. It was about 200 people, and they were given the things to grow the cartilage, all natural from an animal. And it was pulverized and broken down into a powder. And they got 2 heaping tablespoons of this every single day for 6 months. These were bone on bone people, grinding, excruciating pain. Everybody needed replacement surgery. By 30 days, they were out of pain. By 6 months, the cartilage had regrown. And it was proven on x-rays. So it's a real deal. And in what I do this all day long with people. So the average is about 6 months, give or take. And it's verifiable by x-rays. So don't have to question.
I'm so glad that you said that you actually were healed after the whole marathon was done and nothing hurt, because my first coach for training to do a whole 26.2 mile marathon said that they compared it to, we were running in honor of the Leukemia Society and cancer patients that were going through chemotherapy. And after you're done with training 15 miles, 18 miles, or even a whole marathon, in 2 days, I was fine and you were fine. And most runners are fine, but the chemotherapy they're not fine compared to our recovery rate anyway. And that was just fascinating to me that we're fine. So I had no right to complain about the pain from a day. Or I would joke that my wife would say right after doing a 26.2 mile marathon, or even a practice in marathon training, and go run down 1A and go back and 10 miles one way and 10 miles back. And then she'd say, can we go to the mall now? And then I'd have to go 10 more miles walking around in the mall. So it's never what you do in training is you're going to do during the after that, unless you're going to take a nap.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
Let's go with another question. I think we still have time.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, for sure.
We have time for more questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go and go down the rest of this list here. Let's see. What is your philosophy with medicine and treating patients? That's pretty direct.
Yeah. I'm just really not about medicine. I'm all about what I mentioned earlier: vitamins, minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids. You know, a medical prescription, or even anything like the aspirins and different things that are on the shelf, those are chemicals made in a lab, and they're using ingredients that are foreign to our body, and our body does not want that. What the body does want is very specific nutrients, and when it gets them, it'll go, wow, okay, this is great, this is exactly what I needed, and now I can go to work and create that hormone. You don't need the bioidenticals. Give the body the sustenance it needs, and it'll go off the welfare system and do it itself. So I'm pretty much totally against all pharmaceuticals.
And I know you touched upon this in a couple of stories earlier, but here's, I guess, the more direct question. Can you tell me about a time when you disagreed with a physician? Maybe recap or something new.
Well, my own father, let's take him as an example. My dad was diagnosed in 2015 with cancer on his right kidney, and they wanted to rush him into surgery, within the next 30 days. So, you're never a prophet in your own backyard. Here I am, a naturopathic doctor. My dad used to work for a big company, Hershey Foods, and he had unlimited chocolate and licorice, and they popped Tylenol all day long like it was going out of style because, all that caffeine and different chemicals and things in that food, not so good. So he was diagnosed with, whether this was the culprit, he was just a sugar person. He was diagnosed with cancer on the right kidney. They were going to take 50 to 100% of the right kidney. So I asked the doctor, he was good looking and very buff, and he was probably in his early 40s, I'd guess. And I said, doctor, you look pretty good. You're pretty buff. Tell me what you know about nutrition. And this was his answer. And he's a humongous doctor in laparoscopic surgery at the University of Iowa. So he said, well, they taught us maybe an hour when I was in school. So that was his answer. So I knew this was going to be a problem. So as we left the building, I said to my dad, Dad, do you want to live? And he said, yes. I said, then you have to listen to every single thing I tell you. Now, I don't do that with clients, okay? They all have free will, not my dad, not my mom, not my kids. So there are some people that I can tell what to do. And so we got to work. And the thing is he was still going through with the surgery 30 days later. So I knew that was all the time I had. So fast forward, I won't get into the protocol of everything that we did, but fast forward 30 days now, it's surgery day. I leave Miami again and go back to the Midwest. And he goes through with the surgery. And at the end, the doctor comes out and he says the update to the family. And then he turns to me because he knew I was working with my dad. My dad had been talking about it to him, telling him everything I was doing. So he says, Randi, there was something different about your father's surgery. And I knew there had to be, because we were aggressive with my father. And so he said, normally when we take a diseased organ out, it's full of lesions, like it's exploded outward. Okay, it's in very bad shape, looks horrendous. He said, your father's was in perfect condition. So the whole outer part of the kidney had completely healed over. So the cancer had regressed that much. Then I was told they were going to take 50 to 100% of the right kidney. He said, we only needed 10%. So we took 12%. So had he waited another 30 days, the surgery would have never been done. And had the doctor done another ultrasound or a x-ray or something to see the condition of the kidney, maybe he would have held off that $100,000 surgery. But no one was willing to wait. That's the problem. Everybody wants it right now. They don't want to give the body the chance to heal fully. It's not an overnight deal. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not snake oil salesman. It's actually giving the body what it needs so it actually has time to go, wow, thank you. This is what I've been wanting. I didn't want all this garbage. I didn't want the chemo. I didn't want the radiation. I was already sick. Then you gave me something else to fight more. So it just wants healing. So if you stop all the stuff, all the, foreign things to the body, or back them off slowly and then go out the door slowly with it, like blood pressure or a diabetic med, that sort of thing, your body will heal. It'll recognize what we give it and it'll heal.
And that was not just $1 million question, but $1 million answer for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for getting personal too, because I know from Toastmasters, the most impactful stories are definitely personal stories. Describe how you communicate with your clients regarding the things you see when doing an analysis.
Okay, so I'm definitely not known for not telling the truth, okay? I will never tell you you have cancer. I will tell you, because I can't. You have to have verification after I tell you what I see. So if I see a high indicator for that, for example, I'll tell you, this is a high indicator for this, or it could be this. I suggest you get a blood test. So I do send them back in to the medical world saying, get this blood test, or we can do, a hair analysis on top of the analysis I've done, and we can see the levels of different things, like how much magnesium you have in your body or how much vitamin A you have in the body, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's really where I'll leave that, I guess. I'm just really not about prescription meds at all. I really believe in the naturopathic way. And the so-called 400, 600, I've heard 800 incurables. It's of my firm opinion and belief and experience that these things are reversible. If you weren't born with it, it's reversible, in my opinion.
Well, thank you for that. And I think I have maybe one question left, I believe, $1 million question. And that's, how
Okay.
can people get an appointment scheduled with you right now today?
Easy. You just go to the body can, C-A-N. Don't confuse that with any of the letters. thebodycan.com/schedule. It's all right there. And my toll-free number is 844-275-1056. 844-275-1056. Then call there. It's not going to ring to me right now. But I or one of my assistants will give a call back and answer any questions and get them scheduled. That's the whole goal. And I'll take a look at the face, the fingernails, the tongue, depending on which analysis they choose. So I have different pricing and 2 different options on the table right now. And then we'll take a look at what's going on in the body. The tongue, for example, will tell me heart, liver, kidney, bladder, hormones. Let's see what else we got in there. Spleen. So there's multiple things. Digestive system, respiratory. Face is going to tell me all of that and more. Large and small intestine. Reproductive areas. I mean, it's just on and on. Nails will tell me things like osteoporosis, internal bleeding as a possibility, possible cancers. So, and then there's marks of concern on the body too that, stand out for me. So if somebody has varicose veins, hemorrhoids, or migraines, they're all the same. It's just the hemorrhoids are the varicose veins in a funny spot, but they could all be signs of, something pretty dangerous. So it's not where you can ignore it. These things are signs. The body is talking to you, and they're not meant to be ignored. Different colored cherry moles, or moles that just weren't there, even if they're brown or black in nature. Moles that weren't there before mean something, and you don't go get them froze off, which is what the dermatologists will do. All they're doing is erasing the evidence. All Botox does is erases the evidence. All fillers do is erase the evidence. And you don't want to erase the evidence. You want to respond to it so it doesn't get worse.
Well said there, for sure. Any last thoughts before I wrap up?
Just people that are sitting at home right now are suffering. I went on a show, a bigger show, much, the guy had a humongous YouTube following. And out of that, thousands of people called. And about 18 of them were literal emergencies that needed help, like right now. And they were just sitting at home doing nothing about it and suffering. They were stroke people. They were cancer. They were, on all kinds of meds, chemos, you name it. And they're just sitting there suffering. Nobody needs to suffer, Paul. Nobody needs to suffer. They just need to pick up the phone and get real help. This is a real answer for their problems. And it's the right answers, and it will get them relief. No matter what, you're going to get relief.
Excellent. And by the way, after you hear the outro music, don't disappear after there. We'll chat just a little bit, but I just want to wrap up and let people know what they've been listening to here. We've been listening to a naturopathic doctor, Dr. Randi Shannon. She told us how she got started as a naturopathic doctor. She also told us several different $1 million questions of why she would choose a specific analysis for face, tongue, and nails. She told us about her best and worst days on the job and what she thinks is the biggest challenge in healthcare today. How often do clients surprise her, and how frequently does she come across something that she might be unfamiliar with? She told us the top 3 causes of death in healthcare. And she told us about diabetes and high blood pressure. And if it's really, really reversible, just go back, rewind. We'll keep this up on our podcast as well. It'll also be on a couple of podcasts later that we'll upload it to, like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher. So it'll definitely Be there for if it's your favorite platform and you like SoundCloud as well, the audio and Bluetooth. What is your philosophy on medicine and treating patients? She shared that, and she told us when she disagreed with a physician. She talked to us about how she communicates with clients and regarding the things that she sees or what you see in an analysis, and how you can schedule an appointment with her today. I think that pretty much covers all of what we've been talking today with Dr. Randi Shannon, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this show. I look forward to the next show. Maybe we'll have her on again next month. So thank you so much for joining me here, Dr. Randi Shannon, and
You
cue
are
the
welcome.
music.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is a love story about a guy looking for love online. And when he does, he finds someone and asks her out to dinner. She just wants a cup of coffee. Find out how the story ends. Spoiler alert, they're still together. Listen to the OMG Talk Show with Paul Finkelstein on YouTube to hear the rest of the story.
And that's interesting that our voiceover guy added in a little blurb about how I met my wife on online dating. And nowadays, people are using online for business and networking and social, and you can take classes online as well. And just as a little tidbit, you can go to my YouTube and hear a 5-minute story how I met my wife on April 18, 1998, for a cup of coffee at 10 o'clock at a Denny's Diner restaurant, which is actually still there on Palmetto Park Road off of I-95 again. And the Kmart's not there, but we had our first walk as well. So thanks, everybody, for joining me here. Have a fantastic day, and stick around. We'll chat a little bit as well. I'll just take us off the air for now. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.